What's up, everybody? It's your boy Brandon Scott again with Locked On Wizards. Tonight, we're going to talk about what if the Wizards drafted Tyrese Haliburton instead of Deni Avdija? Would the team be better? Would they be worse? Would he fit? Or was Deni Avdija the best pick at the time and now? And we're going to do a preview for the Indiana Pacers game Friday night. So definitely rock with me tonight on Locked On Wizards.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Brandon Scott again with Locked On Wizards. And I appreciate you guys making Locked On Wizards your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. And tonight's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use code all lowercase LockedOnNBA for a first deposit matchup to $100. So tonight, Tyrese Haliburton right now is rolling. He is a MVP candidate, and the Pacers are looking good in the East. So looking at the draft where we drafted Deni Avdija, we were slated to draft Tyrese Haliburton. What if we did? Would this team have been different? Were they constructed for success for Tyrese Haliburton, or was Deni Avdija the best pick at the time and now? So we're going to look at the roster and all those factors, and then we're going to do a preview for Friday night's game at home versus the Indiana Pacers and Tyrese Haliburton. So let's slide into it. So draft year, the 2020 draft, Tyrese Haliburton has actually went on several podcasts and said that he was informed by the team that he was actually slated to be drafted by the Washington Wizards, but they chose Deni Avdija instead. And many, people, it's one of those things in hindsight, like, should they have? But we're looking at certain factors. We're looking at the roster. We're going to look at construction. Would have it worked? Would they have made the same moves? And ultimately, was it the best decision? Because, would he have worked in this system? We're going to talk about it. So looking at the roster that year, so obviously, hypothetically, we chose Tyrese Haliburton. Looking at the point guards for the 2020-2021 season for the Washington Wizards, we had Cassius Winston, Russell Westbrook, Ish Smith, and Raul Neto. So the question is, obviously, if we drafted Tyrese Haliburton, would we have still made that move sending John Wall to Houston for Russell Westbrook? Yes. I think that was the only move available at the time for this organization, because obviously with the gang signs, that whole incident, the bridges that were burnt on the way out for John Wall, teleonsis, and the whole culture thing, it was inevitable that they would have to move John Wall. And that was the biggest deal. That was probably the most realistic deal, sending him to Houston along with a first-round pick for Russell Westbrook. Now, Tyrese Haliburton, obviously, coming in, would be a sixth man. He wouldn't be starting. Russell Westbrook would. But Ish Smith and Raul Neto, or I would say Ish Smith would probably be on the roster, but Raul Neto, maybe not. And Cassius Winston, obviously, would be just a two-way guy, a go-go guy. So, could he fit? Yeah, I mean, I don't see anybody on the roster that would stand in his way outside of Russell Westbrook if we drafted Tyrese Haliburton. So he definitely could come in, be that backup point guard, combo guard for us. Maybe play a little bit of two, because looking at the roster outside of Bradley Beal, only two guards we had that year was Jerome Robinson and Garrison Matthews, and we know the horror show of that. So being a combo guard, could he have fit? In my opinion, yes. We would have still made that move for Russell Westbrook. He would have came in and he would have fit. But looking at forward, and obviously we drafted Deni Avdija that year to be that forward. The forwards on the team at that time was Troy Brown Jr. and Isak Bonga. So you can definitely see that there was a need for another forward. Now, obviously, we had Rui Hachimura at the four at the time. He's best served at the four, not the three. So we definitely needed a guy on the wing. So, was the Deni Avdija pick needed? Absolutely. We needed a guy who could defend. We needed a prospect on the wing, because obviously at that time, and obviously we would go on to trade Troy Brown Jr. to the Chicago Bulls for Daniel Gafford. So, but kind of running, and we're going to talk about a trade where they still made it with Tyrese Haliburton being on the team. But Looking at the again power forward, we had Rio Hachimura, but we also had Anthony Gill and Davis Bertans was on the roster. So, yeah. And then looking at the center position, Mo Wagner, Robin Lopez, Alex Len, and obviously Thomas Bryant. And then you can add Daniel Gafford, but that was after the trade. Do we still make that trade? Yes. Daniel Gafford, Alex Len, Robin Lopez provided depth that year. And that was depth that we desperately need right now. That was a good year for center position because all of them had contributed in certain ways. Now, Mo Wagner was obviously traded. So do we still make that move for Daniel Gafford? I would say yeah. Alex Len obviously with a long-term prospect at center. Neither was Robin Lopez. So Daniel Gafford move I would still have made. So looking at it, Tyrese Haliburton, could we have drafted him instead of Deni Avdija and been successful? Yes. He could have slid right in after the move next year, sending Russell Westbrook to the Lakers and been the starting point guard. But I'm gonna throw some at you. Now, obviously, the year after we make that move for KP, but I'm not gonna get into it yet. Now, obviously, Tyrese Haliburton could have fit on the Wizards, and been successful. But I'm gonna throw some at you. Should the Wizards maybe have acquired another pick and maybe have gotten both? Maybe. I mean, if you look at this team with Tyrese Haliburton at point and Deni still being, because I mean, they could have still been in a position to get both of them, in my opinion, if they would have been crafting that. We're talking about Tommy Shepard, so maybe not. But kind of getting to the point here is drafting Tyrese Haliburton instead of Deni Avdija. Does it make us better than drafting Deni? Not really. Because if you look at the construction of the roster, you're still going to go through the growing pains of a rebuild. Now, obviously, they weren't rebuilding then. They're kind of building for the middle. And obviously, looking, a potential backcourt with Bradley Beal and Tyrese Haliburton would have been money, in my opinion. Would have been a really good backcourt in DC. But then you still don't have a long-term prospect at the wing, Rui at the 4 and Gafford at the 5. So, obviously, they was, I don't want to get into the Bertans, Lord have mercy. But would we have been better? I don't know. I think this, really at that situation, regardless of who you draft in that situation, whether it's Tyrese Haliburton or Deni Avdija, you're still going to have growing pains. Now, you could say that Tyrese Haliburton was a little more pro-ready and Deni Avdija had to be developed, but, it's just one of those things in hindsight, man. So, the question is, in the final decision here, would we have been in a better position with Tyrese Haliburton as opposed to Deni Avdija? And I'm going to say no. I'm going to say that you're going to be in the same situation as far as the trajectory of this franchise, no matter which one of these guys you draft. That's just a situation that the Wizards are in, because obviously it's not so much them being drafted as the roster construction. You still have Davis Bertans' bad contract. Troy Brown Jr., they didn't have most confidence in him. So I'm going to say that it really doesn't move the needle regardless who you get, because you still have to construct a roster to fit that person. Now, obviously, constructing the roster to fit Tyrese Haliburton and the potential backcourt Bradley Beal is different than constructing with Deni, where he's a prospect that had to be developed. But, in short, and I want to have this conversation with you guys, man, because we're playing them tomorrow night, and Tyrese Haliburton is in front. But, he's doing well. He's on fire. But did we make the right pick? It's hard to say, because obviously you look at the success that Tyrese Haliburton has had. But if you look at the Indiana Pacers, they are constructed around him, and that has a lot to do with his success. As opposed to DC, they would have made a lot of moves to construct around him. So they made a good pick, in my opinion. Bringing Deni to DC with that pick, he comes in at the wing. He had to be developed, but his defense has always been there, but his offensive game has had to be molded. And finally, this season, we're starting to see his effort, being developed come to fruition, because he's evolving offensively. And so, did we make the right pick? I'm gonna say yeah. We were not constructed for Tyrese Haliburton. And obviously he was more pro ready again, but it's all about roster construction and how they fit. And he would not have fit, in my opinion. It would have been a nice backcourt with him and Bradley Beal. Yeah, but we were not constructed for long-term success that year or even in the year after. So, we went with the safe pick. And I think that I like Deni. I think he's going to be successful here in DC, and we definitely made the right pick. But you always got to think about it. What ifs, right? What if we did draft Tyrese Haliburton. So definitely comment below. Let me know what you guys think, because I'm a Tyrese Haliburton fan. I'm a Deni Avdija fan. I mean, Lord, I would love both of them to be on the team, to be honest with you. But it's just one of those things where, fit matters, right? Fit matters. And again, roster construction was not fit for Tyrese Haliburton to come in. Where with Deni, that guard, that wing position was wide open because Troy Brown was not part of the future, and Rui was best fit at the 4. So moving forward, we are going to do a preview for tomorrow night's game against the Indiana Pacers and Tyrese Haliburton in Capital One Arena. But before we do, tonight's episode is brought to you by Dave.com. At one time or another, we all need a little financial help. That's why Dave is great. Dave can get you cash when you need a hand between paychecks and can help you build credit by settling extra cash advances on time. Dave would have been so useful when I got hit with an expensive parking ticket or an unexpected vet bill, and especially for that car service light that's been on for months, man. I'm trying to tell you. Thankfully, Dave is here to help with extra cash. Dave is a banking app that's leveling the financial playing field. When you download Dave, you can get up to $500 in 5 minutes or less. No credit check, no late fees. It's all part of Dave's extra cash account. Advance the money you need with no interest and then settle it up later. Download Dave today at dave.com/LockedOnNBA. That's dave.com/LockedOnNBA. You can get up to $500 in 5 minutes or less. No credit check, no late fees. Download the Dave app now or go to dave.com/LockedOnNBA. For terms and conditions, go to dave.com/legal. Eligibility criteria and instant transfer fees apply. Banking services provided by Evolve, member FDIC. And Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. So let's get into the preview. And obviously, we just talked about Tyrese Haliburton. He will be here in the flesh in the 202. So bear with me. I am pulling up the preview notes. All right, tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, Capital One Arena. The Indiana Pacers are in town to face the 3-20 Washington Wizards. Now, they are carrying a 13-9 record. They are currently 5th in the East. Looking at trying to pull up the betting odds for you guys, and it's not helping me out. So I guess you're still working on. So looking at right now, the Pacers 5th in the East, they're rolling. Tyrese Haliburton's averaging 26 points a game right now. Now looking at the points leader for the Washington Wizards, obviously is Kyle Kuzma with 23 points per game. Rebounding, Miles Turner is averaging around 8 rebounds a game, where Daniel Gafford for the Wizards is averaging around 7. And looking at assists, this is a big gap between the Wizards and the Pacers. Tyrese Haliburton is averaging 12 assists a game compared to 4.8 assists per game by Tyus Jones of the Washington Wizards. Now look at some season stats. The Pacers, looking at rebounding, obviously rebounding has been the issue for the Wizards all year long. Obviously defense, but rebounding has been abysmal, especially offensive rebounding, allowing other teams to extend possessions. Looking at the tail of the tape, neither one of those are very good rebounding teams. The Indiana Pacers are 29th in the NBA, and the Wizards are 30th. So, the matchup you're looking at is definitely Miles Turner and Daniel Gafford. Daniel Gafford has got to step up. He's got to be a lot more vigilant in the paint. Paint defense has struggled. And obviously rebounding has struggled. And so I'm looking for a game from Daniel Gafford, to stay out of foul trouble, right? Definitely looking at the matchup between him and Miles Turner. But looking at points per game, the Pacers are number 1 in the NBA in points per game. They're number 1 in assists. So, excuse me. So what does that tell you? They like to push the pace, a lot of ball movement. So the Wizards aren't the best, probably the worst defensive team in the league. So how do you combat that? Well, they have to get into passing lanes. You saw that the last couple of games where they're very active in the passing lanes, but they got to be more vigilant on the defensive end, because this team likes to push the pace and they like to score. This is definitely going to be a high scoring game. So, and another factor, blocks. They are 4th in NBA in blocks, as opposed to the Wizards, who are 17th in the league in blocks. So definitely we how do you combat that? In my opinion, you still attack the paint. Try to get them in foul trouble. Try to get Miles Turner in foul trouble. But this is going to be a test for the Washington Wizards. Obviously, we're coming into this matchup 3-20, so we're not challenging anybody as far as the standings. But they are 5th in the East, and they are a team who are on the rise. Tyrese Haliburton is playing MVP basketball, in my opinion. So, is this a winnable game? No, it's not a winnable game. Obviously the Indiana Pacers are going to win this game. But kind of going back to what my keys for victory. Well, I guess we're going to hold off, right? We're going to do the keys of victory in a little bit, but I guess right now, looking at the matchups I want to see, obviously Daniel Gafford, man. Daniel Gafford and Miles Turner. I think Daniel Gafford's got to step it up, man. We've talked a lot about his long-term fit, his contract, everybody being available at the deadline. I think that he is a guy who, just like most people outside of Bilal and Deni Avdija, everybody's tradable. And I think he's playing for his role here long-term in DC. Do I think that they kind of gave him that contract a little soon? Yeah, I do. He's got to earn his keep. And right now he hasn't. He has struggled. And he struggled against Miles Turner in the past. So that's a matchup that I'm definitely looking at, man. But Tyrese Haliburton, he's definitely going to be a tough cover for Tyus Jones or Jordan Poole. So I'm going to get into my keys to victory, what I'm looking at development-wise, and my prediction. I'm going to go ahead and do a prediction tonight. But before we do, tonight's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. So, what is PrizePicks? Sorry, I had a brain fart there. What is PrizePicks? Well, PrizePicks is the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. We are the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. It's just you against the numbers. Instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks, you pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 players and their stat projections and watch their winnings roll in. Because with basketball season here, you can now pick combo projections across football and basketball for the Specials League. A league created especially for combo projections that includes 2 more players from different sports or leagues. For example, LeBron James plus Travis Kelce at 10.5 combo of 3-pointers made and receptions. Do you want to play alongside some of PrizePicks' favorite players like rapper Meek Mill and comedian Andrew Schultz? Well, you can do that. You can now find community plays under the promos tab of the app to view entries from some of the biggest names in the PrizePicks community. PrizePicks even offers a reboot policy so that your entries stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. For football and basketball games, that is key, because if you have a player who exits the game in the first half and does not return in the second half, that player is rebooted. PrizePicks is the only daily fantasy sports platform with an injury insurance policy. So go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use code LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. So let's get into some keys to victory. And obviously, we're going to get into projection in a minute, but keys to victory. 3 major areas, right? Defense. I say this all the time. I say this in every episode that it has been a major issue for the Wizards. Obviously, we may not have the personnel to completely be the lockdown defensive team, but effort. So we have to be vigilant on perimeter defense. Obviously, a lot of teams come in and they shoot career numbers on the Wizards on the perimeter. Transition, we have to get down the court. We have to be vigilant on transition defense. Communication is key. Interior defense. Daniel Gafford has that to be essential in trying to, it's tough to say because if you look at it from a statistical standpoint, stats, he gets a block a game, a couple steals. It's just he struggles against centers in his league that are more athletic or stronger, but interior defense has to be shored up. And obviously, with a lack of depth at the center position, that's going to be an issue that we're going to have all year. But defense is something that's a key to victory. We don't have the personnel, but be vigilant. Get into passing lanes. Effort. Be a dog. Get in people's faces. Communicate on the defensive end. Rotations have to be crisper, faster. You have to close out speed. The shooters has to get faster instead of letting them set up and have all day to shoot the 3-point shot. Close out. Get a hand in their face. I definitely want to see some effort on the defensive end. 2, rebounding. Rebounding. We did in the last couple of games. Or the game before last. Excuse me, not the last game. Lord have mercy. We did well rebounding, but overall, we have been an abysmal rebounding team. Box out. I want to see them boxing out, more vigilant and getting rebounds. Not always having guys like Deni or Johnny Davis going in there and get rebounds. The centers need to get in there. The guys playing at the forward need to be more vigilant at getting rebounds. So I definitely want to see them more active and getting rebounds. Definitely box out. And 3, overall effort, man. I say this every preview. Playing for the name on the front, not the name in the back, man. I want to see them play hard. We are 3-20. Obviously, we are a rebuilding team. Obviously, we're not very good. Obviously, we're playing for a high draft pick, but going into a rebuild, look, let's be honest. We're going into a rebuild. I definitely think that next year is the first official year of a rebuild. This is a transitional year, but new era, a lot of new things coming for the Wizards. Obviously, if you weren't born under a rock, that the Washington Wizards are headed to the Commonwealth of Virginia. Now, is it 100% no? Is it a sure thing? No. But all arrows are pointing to them making that move across the river to Virginia. So a lot of new things happening with this organization. So you got to build a foundation. It starts with culture, playing the right way, playing hard. You play hard and you lose, that's totally different than waving the white flag. So that is my 3rd key to victory. Effort, play hard, play for the name in the front, not the name in the back. Development. Who are the players I'm looking at for development? Now, I'm looking at obviously the 2 guys who are really the central part of this rebuild, Deni Avdija and Bilal Coulibaly. What do I want to see from the 2 guys? I like the fact that they're not hesitant to shoot, especially 3-point shots in mid-range. Continue to do that. Shoot those shots. Definitely get those shots on your belt, man. The fact that they're not hesitant anymore is good signs for the offensive development for Deni and Bilal. They're not hesitant to take those shots. That's what I want to see. I want to see them drive the paint, drive the lane. Try to get people in foul trouble. Try to get to the free throw line. Definitely drive the lane with aggressiveness. Definitely more really from both of them. I want to see more aggression. I want to see a scorer's mentality because we all know what both of them can do on the defensive end. They're both dogs defensively, and some people argue maybe Bilal's better at defense, but neither one of them are shabby on defense. Both Deni and Bilal have defended at a high level, but offensively, I want to see more aggression. I want to see more of a scorer's mentality. So before we move on, man, my score prediction. Man, oh man. I'm going to say a 145 to 110 loss for the Washington Wizards. The Pacers, they push the pace. They know how to score. They're rolling right now. And we have too many deficiencies, man. Defense and rebounding continue to haunt us. I think this is going to be a loss for us. I think we're going to come out of this as a 3-21 loss team. But look, keep your hopes up, everybody, because the light at the end of the tunnel, I know right now we're in flux right now. I know the move to Virginia is not a very popular move. I know that there's a lot of feelings about that. I know there's a lot of feelings about, there's some people that didn't want us to rebuild. We're going through a transitional period, but it's not squabbles. Come together as a fan base, man. The whole moving thing, we covered this the last 2 videos. I'm not going to harp on, I'm not going to beat a dead horse, but we are going through a transitional period within the next 4 to 5 years. So I definitely think as a fan base, we need to come together, man. The DMV is a melting pot, man. We need to figure this out, y'all. Because, look, we all love this team. So we want to see this team compete and be successful. And we have a long road ahead of us. But it starts with us being together, man. So it's not squabble over Virginia, Maryland, and these. Look, it's the DMV, man. So we definitely come together and root for this team because, look, there is some light at the end of the tunnel. So I'm going to go ahead and call it tonight. We covered a lot, man. What if the Wizards did draft Tyrese Haliburton? Would he have fit, or was Deni Avdija the right pick? And I kind of covered it already. He was a very intriguing pick. And a backcourt with him and Bradley Beal would have been a good backcourt, but we did not have the pieces in line for him to be successful, as opposed to him landing in Sacramento and then sliding over to a team that was built around him in Indiana. So Deni Avdija, in my opinion, for the long term, was the better pick in that situation. Not to say he's the better player, because I obviously, look, Tyrese Haliburton is the better player, but it's all about fit and the personnel around him. And at the time, Deni Avdija is the best pick. So we covered the previews. Definitely show your support Friday night, man. 7:00. I will be there. If any of you guys are going to be at the game Friday night against the Indiana Pacers, definitely let me know. My Twitter handle is down below. Hit me up. We can definitely link up. I definitely like meeting you guys, man, and then chopping it up, and definitely want to meet you guys, man. So if you guys are any of you guys going to be at Capital One Arena tomorrow night, definitely let me know, and we can chop it up, and then we can definitely chill a little bit. So again, appreciate you guys. Wherever you get your podcast, a 5-star review is much appreciated if we earned it, right? On the YouTube side of things, definitely like, subscribe, and comment below. If you're not a member of Locked On Wizards, definitely consider it, man, because we have a lot of good content coming out this season, man. Yeah, we are rebuilding. Yeah, we're not very good, but man, me and my dude, the real Ed Oliver, man, we like to have fun on here, man. We, look, there's no bias here, man. Everybody gets to smoke, man. We are 2 hardcore Wizards fans, man, who like to tell it like it is, man. So definitely rock with us, man, because we have fun on here. Definitely comment below. Let me know what you guys think. Who was a better pick? Would you still have rode with Tyrese Haliburton, and you think he would have been successful long term? Yeah, tell me, and why. Or do you firmly believe that Deni Avdija was the better pick in that situation? So definitely let me know what you guys think. And again, I hope everybody has a blessed and safe and fun weekend. Definitely drink responsibly. And so definitely Friday night, the Wizards against the Indiana Pacers. And bear me with me, because I know that we actually have a game on Sunday. Oh, it won't pull up. So busy weekend for Washington sports. For you Commanders fans, Commanders do play on Sunday against the LA Rams. So anyways, appreciate you guys, man. Appreciate you guys taking the time to chop it up with me tonight. Hail to the Wizards and peace. Everybody have a good weekend.